Talk boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this. As previously reported, the same night as the unification match between Senicia Estrada and Tina Ruprecht, Yokasta Valle will be returning to action alongside her younger sister, Naomi Valle, Marisela Cornejo from the US of A, and Lynn Sandstorm from Australia. Some welcome additions to the card, which is set to go down later on this month, the same night as Estrada versus Ruprecht, set to go down as both a Marv Nation and Golden Boy promotion show in Costa Rica, where Yokasta Valle happens to draw very well. The interesting bit of it is that it's not going down on the DAZN platform. It's going down on Black Prime.
Wasn't expecting that.
The bout will air live on subscription-based platform Black Prime as a non-premium event free to existing members. Non-members are required to sign up for either a monthly subscription, $3.99 per month, or the $39.99 annual pass.
Why isn't it on DAZN?
If Yokasta Valle still has a partnership with the people over there at Golden Boy Promotions, why is the card not being aired on DAZN as a Golden Boy Promotions show with Golden Boy as the liaison?
What happened there?
Black Prime appears to still be trying to carve out a lane for themselves in the sport of boxing, things having fallen apart with Adrian Bronier, who very recently jumped into bed with Don King. That situation they had with Terrence Crawford, that was a one-and-done situation, not a multi-fight engagement.
They're still trying. They've decided to pick up this show.
Though, being honest with you, I don't think they'll have much luck using this card to drum up business for their platform, because that same night, on the biggest sports network in the country, at no additional charge, you're going to see Senicia Estrada take on Tina Ruprecht.
In a better fight than this fight.
A fight that involves two better fighters and two better champions than Yokasta Valle, in spite of how accomplished Yokasta Valle is. And I do think she's an accomplished fighter. But Tina Ruprecht, she does hold the victory over her.
She beat Yokasta years ago in Senicia Estrada.
She's rated across the board as one of the top pound-for-pound fighters in the entire sport of women's boxing. The fight between Senicia and Tina is, in fact, a better, more high-caliber, high-quality fight than Yokasta Valle's next fight. So why would you pay an additional charge to see Yokasta in action when that same night
these two are going to be fighting? These two are going to be in action.
Anybody interested in the women's minimum weight division isn't going to want to have to divide their attention between two separate shows.
You already know which fight is the better fight.
This fight for Yokasta Valle is little more than a voluntary title defense, a takeover fight, a keep busy fight for Yokasta Valle. So for seeing Yokasta keep busy,
might as well watch Tina and Senicia unify.
And that Yokasta Valle's next fight is happening on Black Prime as opposed to DAZN. I mean, if Golden Boy Promotions doesn't take issue with Yokasta fighting on another platform that they're not in bed with,
because they're not in bed with Black Prime,
I suppose that means that they shouldn't have any issues sending Yokasta over to ESPN to take on Senicia Estrada if she beats Tina Ruprecht, and I think she can. I think she will.
You know what I think? I think they would have been better off spending whatever money they were going to spend on Zurdo Ramirez versus Gabriel Rosado on Yokasta Valle's next fight.
In light of recent events, Zurdo Ramirez blowing the weight by several pounds, that main event being called off, and Jojo Diaz versus Mercito Gesta being elevated to the main event for that.
You might as well have used that money to promote Yokasta Valle's next fight.
Well, I understand that the people at Golden Boy Promotions ain't clairvoyant. How could they have known that Zurdo Ramirez was going to miss the weight by that much? I get that.
But hindsight being 2020, making that investment in what is an unprofessional fighter, a fighter who missed the weight by a wide margin, so wide you wonder if he was even trying to make the weight.
Frittering away those dollars on Zurdo Ramirez just for him to blow the weight and have the fight called off, you might as well have invested in Yokasta.
It's not like Ramirez versus Rosado was a good fight anyway.
But I guarantee you that it would have been a more expensive fight to put on than Yokasta Valle's next fight.
I'm just saying, whatever resources Golden Boy has left might perhaps be better spent on someone else.
That's the look of it for now. Expect to see Yokasta Valle in action in a week's time,
the same night as Estrada versus Ruprecht on the undercard of Ramirez versus Comey.
Why they decided to stage this show the same night as Senicia Estrada's next fight,
I don't understand that. Why would you want people to have to divide their attention?
I don't get it, but both shows are set to go down the same day on the same night.
Next weekend on the 25th. Keep your eyes peeled for that.
In men's super bantamweight news ahead of his upcoming fight with Stefan Fulton, my next goal is to once again become a world champion. I'm sure it will be the biggest challenge for me.
Whoever wins, this fight actually being made is cause for celebration in light of all the things that haven't happened.
Spence versus Crawford. What could be the potential collapse of Fury versus Usyk.
We have this to look forward to.
We still have Inoue versus Fulton. Now, yet Inoue had his mind made up well before entering the ring for his previous fight. The three-division titleist and pound-for-pound entrant already knew that a trip to the junior featherweight division was in his immediate future. Inoue was open about campaigning at the weight in the build-up to his eventual 11th round knockout of England's Paul Butler to fully unify the bantamweight division. The historic December 13th clash in Tokyo saw Inoue win the WBO title and defend the lineal WBC, WBA, and IBF straps, all of which he held for exactly one more month before abdicating the throne. By then, his sights were already set on the unified WBC and WBO junior featherweight titleist, Stephen Fulton.
He knew he didn't waste any time, and that's why you have to really appreciate this guy.
He certainly didn't make his fans wait a long time for him to be involved in another meaningful fight, perhaps a more meaningful fight than the last fight that he had, certainly more challenging.
It is.
My next goal is to move up in weight and once again become a world champion. Inoue noted of his upcoming pound-for-pound showdown with the unbeaten Philadelphia native, I'm sure it will be the biggest challenge for me so far, since I have to deal with issues related to my own physical frame. The bout will stream live on soon-to-launch Lemino app in Japan and on ESPN Plus in the United States on Sunday, May 7th from the Yokohama Arena in Inoue's hometown of Yokohama, Japan.
Inoue could have did what Gervonta Davis did when he moved up to lightweight or when he moved up to super lightweight.
He could have fought a guy like a Yuriorki Scamboa, a guy like a Mario Barrios, and nobody would have said boo because this guy just unified an entire division, and he's already a full-fledged three-division champion, a bona fide champion, not a secondary title holder.
He could have took it easy like Gervonta Davis has been taking it easy over the years.
But he wouldn't have created this much excitement had he elected to do that. Inoue has won belts at junior flyweight, junior bantamweight, and bantamweight, and now looks to join Kazuto Ioka as just the second Japanese male boxer to win titles in 4 weight divisions. To date, Inoue's power has followed him up the scale. Just 2 of his 17 major title fights, plus 2 more secondary title fights, have gone to the scorecards. Inoue scored knockout wins to begin every divisional title reign and has dropped every opponent he's faced in a major title fight. The natural level of aggression saw Inoue effortlessly run the tables at bantamweight, completing the job 10 years after having turned pro at junior flyweight, where he would win his first title.
Most people feel that Inoue's power, it will carry up to a 4th division, a 4th weight class, given his frame and his age.
That he isn't an old fighter. He's in his prime, the best years of his professional boxing career. Most
people think his power is going to carry.
Though presuppositions and postulations are no substitute for an actual fight and an actual victory, time has yet to prove whether or not Inoue can be at super bantamweight who he's been at bantamweight.
Unified champion Stephen Fulton's going to have something to say about that.
Inoue promises to be up for the challenge and not to shy away from doing what he does best. I'm an attacker, noted Inoue. I'm the type who has a style with serious offense and defense who just keeps coming. I'm now coming to the 122-pound division.
Fighters like both Naoya Inoue and Stephen Fulton are doing a great service to the fans. You could argue that Stephen Fulton just did what he had to do to get the biggest purse, the biggest payday, but how many other fighters have we seen shy away?
Deontay Wilder rejected $100 million for what was the undisputed title fight with Anthony Joshua. He turned that down.
Luis Ortiz turned down a career-high purse too, and Adam Kovnowski, all to box Anthony Joshua.
They turned him down, and they did not go on to create the excitement and make the money that they would have made had they taken him up on his offer. You think about
Garden Gnome Gary at featherweight.
Gary Russell Jr., who once was that division's WBC champion not that long ago. He was offered a $1 million purse to cross the Atlantic Ocean, cross the pond, and unify titles with Josh Warrington, then IBF champion.
Gary, in his own words, said that he rejected the offer because the offer was beneath him.
Even stranger is that Gary Russell Jr. in the Mark Magsayo fight that took place months later, he didn't go on to make $1 million from that fight. Quite the opposite. The reported purse for the Magsayo fight was half of what Eddie Hearn offered him to unify titles with Josh.
How do you say that $1 million purse is beneath you when you're out here fighting for $500,000?
These guys are fucking morons. They're handlers, they're managers, they're promoters. They're fucking morons too. You would have created more excitement and more buzz in a unification match with Josh Warrington than losing to Mark Mixayo. But that's how the cookie crumbled, and it's for that reason you've got to give Stephen Fulton his flowers. You've got to give him credit.
Me especially, because I didn't even think this fight was going to happen. I was convinced that Stephen wasn't going to fight Naoya Inoue.
Politics of boxing, that, and there were reports that stated Stephen was set to move up to super featherweight to take on Brandon Figueroa for a second time.
So I was convinced that the fight with Naoya Inoue wasn't going to happen. But just like that, Stephen Fulton doubled back and decided to participate in the bigger fight, the better fight,
And we are the beneficiaries.
Stephen Fulton currently ranks in at number 9 on the Ring IQ pound-for-pound list.
A win over Naoya Inoue, a dominant win, could see him moving up at least one spot. It could. Naoya Inoue himself, he is what we like to call a champion in transition.
He abdicated the bantamweight throne, and he's moving up in weight, but his very next fight is a title fight.
So even though the rules that govern the list dictate that no fighter absent of a world title is allowed to maintain a rank,
That doesn't apply to Naoya Inoue because he's a champion in transition.
if nothing else, he is the bantamweight division's lineal champion who is now moving up in weight to see himself become a 4-division champion.
And if he is successful, if he wins, he will overtake Alexander Usyk for the number 2 spot.
Naoya Inoue is already ranked ahead of Terrence Crawford. If he becomes a 4-division unified champion,
He's already been undisputed.
and he's already been a champion at more weights than Alexander Usyk. If he becomes a champion, let alone a unified champion at a 4th weight, he's moving up to number 2.
Top tier.
Question is, will he? Will he be successful in this endeavor? There really is only one way to find out, and very soon we will. And finally, in men's super lightweight news, 2-time super lightweight champion Regis Prograis favors Josh Taylor to beat Teofimo Lopez. Style-wise, Teofimo is better, but Taylor is too big, too aggressive. I'll tell you this much, Josh Taylor ain't the one that's going to put up with Teofimo Lopez Sr.'s crap.
He's not.
Regis Prograis likes Josh Taylor's chances against Teofimo Lopez. The recently crowned WBC 140-pound titleist from New Orleans offered his thoughts on the upcoming title bout between the WBO champion Taylor of Scotland and Brooklyn's Lopez. Their promoter, Top Rank, will stage the fight on June 10th in New York City, which favors Teofimo more than it favors Josh. You would have thought that Sky Sports and Boxer would have fought a little bit harder to do that fight in their neck of the woods.
They need the content.
Taylor is big and tall, and I think he's mentally strong. Prograis told ES News. I think style-wise, Teo is better, but I think Taylor's too big, too aggressive. Taylor talks a lot of shit. He's gonna get in Lopez's head for sure.
Lopez's head is a bag of cats.
I do think that Josh Taylor is mentally stronger than Teofimo Lopez, mostly because Josh Taylor isn't just a more maturated fighter than Teofimo Lopez. He's more maturated overall. He's a grown man, where Teofimo, he's still just a tween, guy in his mid-20s.
You know, he's finding himself and all that kind of stuff.
Still finding himself. I mean, it wasn't that long ago we saw Teofimo Lopez post-fight after the Sandor Martin fight questioning as to whether or not he still got it on the biggest sports network in the country in a fight that he supposedly won.
According to the judges, he did.
Taylor versus Lopez was a surprising development on the boxing calendar because Taylor had been virtually locked into a rematch with England's Jack Casserole for nearly a year. Taylor defeated Catterall via points in February of 2022, but the decision was heavily criticized and prompted cries of corruption. Their rematch, which had been postponed numerous times, was supposed to be scheduled for March 4th, but in January, it was revealed that Taylor had suffered a torn tendon in his foot. Since then, the WBO ordered Taylor to fight Lopez, the top contender, and Top Rank finalized the fight.
All right.
You know what I feel? I feel the best version of Josh Taylor beats the very best version of Teofimo Lopez. That's how I feel, that these two guys at their best, at their very best, Josh wins.
I didn't forget that after the Masayoshi Nakatani fight, Teofimo Lopez said he didn't want to fight any more tall guys because he was having so many problems with that guy.
Lopez don't like fighters having a height advantage over him. That's the look of it, based on what he said that night. That could be a part of the reason he swerved that Arnold Barboza fight. You know, Arnold, he's a taller guy than Teofimo.
Though let's not be too hard on him, he's about to fight a more proven guy and a bigger scalp at 140 pounds than little old Arnold Barboza.
He's fighting Josh Taylor, and as stated, I feel like the best version of Josh Taylor, the best version of him, beats the very best version of Teofimo Lopez. The caveat is, we don't know that we're getting the best version of either of these fighters. That's what makes the fight intriguing. A long time ago, I would have heavily favored Josh Taylor to annihilate Teofimo Lopez.
These days, not so much. He's injury-prone, sparsely active.
He was injured ahead of the first Jack Catterall fight. He was injured ahead of what was supposed to be the second, which led to the fight being scrapped.
That's how we got here.
At the same time, it's not like Teofimo Lopez has been looking all that great, has he?
Stylistically, Teofimo Lopez is a boxer-puncher with an affinity for counter-punching. Though he's not a prolific puncher, he's not a busy puncher, busy throughout the course of a round.
He is a counter-puncher, and counter-punching works best against aggressive opponents that want to stand right in front of you and let them go. In some ways, that describes Josh Taylor, but there are some nuances. Josh is a southpaw, not an orthodox fighter like Teofimo Lopez.
And at his best, he's got good movement, good feet.
He is a mid-range to inside fighter, an aggressive one.
So I kind of see what Regis Prograis talking about, that stylistically, at least for this fight, Teofimo Lopez has one or two advantages.
Just based on the styles, that in spite of Josh Taylor being so much taller and longer than Teofimo Lopez, he is a mid-range to inside fighter, not an outside jabber. So he would likely bring the fight to Teofimo, allowing him to use his counter-punching.
That's without the intangibles, without the other stuff. Just based on styles, that's how it breaks down.
Though to get a better picture of things, you have to tack on that Josh Taylor is a more prolific puncher than Teofimo Lopez, especially in the phone booth.
He can take a punch. At least historically, there's evidence of that. He went 12 rounds with Regis Prograis. There are not a lot of guys in the 140-pound division that can go 12 rounds with Regis Prograis.
Josh Taylor did, albeit many years ago.
Many years later, is Teofimo Lopez really that big a puncher that he can get Josh Taylor's respect? Is he really that big a puncher that he can stop him?
At the same time, is Josh Taylor now who he was years ago? Is he as durable, or has constantly cutting down to 140 pounds taken something out of him? Is that why he's so injury prone?
Boiling all the way down to 140 pounds. Josh Taylor's close to 6 feet tall, ain't he?
That's what makes the fight intriguing, that it's not a foregone conclusion that either man wins.
Is Teofimo Lopez even in the right headspace for a fight like this? And physically, is Josh Taylor match fit? Fighting fit?
I do think he's mentally stronger than Teofimo Lopez, but physically,
Has he lost a step?
who's catching who at the right time here? Is Josh catching Teofimo at the right time, or is Teofimo catching Josh?
Hard to say.